Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So there are different classifications. Whether you can have botanical classifications, we can have the growth habit, agronomical, climate, and growing season. So here botanical classifications, we are not going to deal with the botanical classification because this is especially for evolution of the crops for different family, the class, subclass, and then family, genus, species. So every crop they have the different family groups. So we are not going to discuss about the botanical classification. That's only important for those as a plant biotechnologist or those that are dealing specially in the plant botany. For them, those classifications are important. So we'll discuss the other classifications like growth habit. Crops are classified growth habit as annual, biennial, and perennial. I think this from your in the school level. These are covered. The crop classification, growth habit, annual crops, biennial crops, and perennial crops. Annual crops, most of the field crops are annual crops. As you see, rice, wheat, corn, peanut, mustard. The field crops which are grown and they complete their life cycle within 1 year. Those crops are annual crops. And those are not the field crops. They are grown in season wise every season and they are harvested in that year only. The duration may be around 3 months to 6 months. Most of the crops are within 3 to 6 months. Those crops are annual crops. And the biennial, those crops takes 2 years, 1 year to 2 years to complete their life cycle. So mainly you can see the papaya is also an example of biennial crops. They complete the life cycle within 2 years. Those are the biennial crops. Perennial crops are the crops which take more than 2 years to complete its life cycle. Means you have most of the trees or the orchard, the fruit crops, they are perennial, like mango, sapota, guava. These are all perennial crops. And we will be dealing for this class mostly field crops, and those are annual. They complete the life cycle within 1 year. The next comes as a agronomical classification, which is very important for us. So we have discussed what is agronomy. So agronomy that we discussed, that's principles and practices of crop productions and field management. That is known as agronomy. And the agronomical classification, in this the crops of different groups, they are classified based on their agronomic management. Similarity in their agronomic management. The crops belongs to a particular groups will have this similarity in their agronomic management, as well as similarity in the economic part is somehow the economic parts, and also that helps identification of plant parts and the machinery development for planting or intracrop operations and harvesting of the crops, and also the use of the crops. So those classifications are around, we have made the 10 classifications, agronomic classifications. Those are the grains or cereals, legumes or pulses, oilseeds, forest crops, root and tuber crops, fiber, sugar, industrial crops, medicinal crops, and energy crops. These are 10 classification of agronomical classification of crops. And these crops are classified knowing that they have the similarity. They have many similarity in their morphological, physical characteristic of these crops. Similarity in their agronomic management as a field level management, and also they are the economic use. The use of these crops also almost similar. On this basis, the crops are classified. They are not agronomic classifications to help the field management. That's what is important for you. Being an engineer, you need to know the agronomical classifications that will help you understanding the agronomic management of those crops, and which ultimately leads to development of the machinery or the tools for the farm implements or the tools for the small and medium farmers, which can help in the production improvement as well as the increasing resource use efficiency of these farmers. These are things are taught. These are all classification known much before, but later on, no, this is say industrial crops or the medicinal crops, the energy crops. These are included afterwards. If you see, if you ask the agronomic classifications, the earlier it was no same, and there are some additions are there, like in energy crops has been added recently, depending upon the need of the hour. Sometimes very peculiar, no, if you see the questions, no, questions may remain same. If you go back to questions of the science is same. Principles almost does not change much. But the fundamental understanding that remains same, but the outlooks, how you are looking at it, that changes with the time. That is very dynamic one. The one thing I can say you, there is a renowned scientist in world level, the Indian scientist, presently in US. Just there is a seminar a few days before, and he said a story. The story that no, the teachers used to make question, and say when students also they appear the question. Sometimes it happens that students do, one student did come back after a few years, maybe after 20 years, to meet his teacher, and fortunately that time teacher was making the question, and the student could see the question, what are the questions teacher is making, and he could realize that the question which he saw 20 years before, when he was a student, and the teacher is making similar questions as on today also. There is no change in question. Then he asked the teacher, no, how are you making such questions which we are used to answer 20 years before, and same question you are making now 20 years after. That means, so there is no change in curricula, there is no change in syllabus. You are teaching same thing what you used to teach 20 years before. Is it correct or not? What's your view?
Sir, depends on the subject, sir. If the subject is so dynamic that everything changes every month, then it's not correct. But if it's a subject which is more related to understanding the concepts and these things, then it is all right, sir.
Okay. Okay, so I know there will be different view from different students, but what are the answer of the teacher to the student? The student raised a very good point, but you know how the teacher did answer the student. The teacher told, see, questions are same. The questions was what I put 20 years before, and now question is same, but the answer has changed. What are the answer during that period? The answer is not same today. That is what you say. The answer is very, very dynamic. That changes with the time. That changes with the need. So as example, I can say when you are looking for the question comes as sustainable agriculture. The sustainable agriculture, the question, what do you mean by sustainable agriculture? That for all the question is very common question, what was 20 years, 30 years before, and now, and if you go for 20 years after, the question may remain same, but the answer to sustainability, that is likely to change as per the time. When the student is writing answer 20 years before, what was sustainability at that time, and what is sustainable today, and what will be sustainable even 20 years after, the answer may change. That you may not have the same answer to a particular question with the change of time. That's what the point, That's what I want to convey you. Because the time is changing, our perception is also changing. Our scientific, okay, we have the basic understanding. What understanding we have, and if you go to action, that action does change. Science is same. Science does not change much, the scientific theory. But when you go to the action, field level action, implementation, that makes certain changes. That you have to because now this understanding will carry you even if somebody has read this 30 years before, and if you come 30 years after also, the principle somehow fundamental understanding that carries. And when you go for the implementation or the conversion of science to action or the policy, action and policy, that may change with the time. As time changes, those things are keeps on changing. So this is what I convey, because for you also now you will go to know after doing your degree, we will enter to a different society and different culture. As a you'll be posted in a job somewhere, responsibility comes some different, and whatever you learn today, that's a question also. When when your seniors they have passed out, we had a farewell function, online farewell function, just like to have to say just like hello to each other, and also to their the future career. The important thing what they learn, what you learn from the uh, teachers or every subject, okay, that will make you enrich to your academic career, no doubt. But no system as a whole, that will give something miraculous, that will bring something different in it, some changes in you which you may not realize. That brings a day-to-day changes in you, because you're the other facility you get here, other atmosphere. Beside academics, you have the other societies are here, like cultural society, gymkhana. There's so many societies you are involved, and most importantly, your friends. So you learn from each other. So that gives you understanding, that trains you how to live in a society, how to live in a bigger in the world. With that, because these 4 years and 5 years as you are here, that gives you that type of understanding. Not only the teachings what you learn from the classroom, it will give a grade. Okay, grade doesn't matter if you either if you do well or don't do well, is give a grade. But you are the development, the human being development, the holistic development, that takes that is taken away not only from your classroom teaching, from outside the classroom, with your friends, with your mentors, with your teachers, and with the other the society. That makes you a complete human being, and that makes you ready, that you are ready to enter into a world and fight all challenges that you will be facing. That gives you understanding. The challenges come in many steps, and that makes you understanding how to face the challenges. That's what this degree gives you, with the academics and other well-beings are with you. So that is what your seniors, when you are discussing, that also they also pointed out same thing, the things you are carrying from here, and these 4 years and 5 years, that this is a stage and the beautiful stage of your life. You will not get this period any part of your life. The beautiful moment with the friends, teachers, mentors, and other members. What do you enjoy during your stay? That carries a lot for you. Okay, so thank you. So this is how when you go for the let's come to the subject classifications. The crop classification. These are the classifications. Some earlier, if you see on the very primitive stage, there is a classification, but we are confined only to grain, cereal, legumes, oil seeds, maybe root and tuber, and the fiber crops, sugar crops. There is no focus on industrial, medicinal, and energy. And with time changes, there is a need. There is a need, then the crops are included, and I wanted to bring them in that umbrella. So once you make classifications, then our research gets oriented in same directions to get benefit of each and every individual crops. So if you see the grain crops, they are known as the cereals, and this is cereals. As you know, there are many cereal crops. They give as per the nutritive value, you get the starch. The energy calorie comes from cereal. Most of the energy you get from the calorie you get from the cereal crops. They are derived from the cereals. There's a Roman goddess as a name it's known. So these are the cereals, common cereals: rice, wheat, maize, sorghum, palm millet, small millets, barley. I hope you might have seen almost all the crops, and also many students, I am sure they have not seen most of the crops. Many might not have seen with rice. No, when I take physical class, I have seen some few students they have not seen the paddy. You might have seen the rice, right? I think many of you might not have seen the paddy. Paddy is not same as rice. After selling a paddy, you get that is your rice. After the husking, the selling of the paddy, when the milling process, you get the rice. But many of you may not have seen the paddy crop. That's what I see all my classes. There are students who have not been to field, who have not gone to agricultural field, they might not see the most of the crops physically. So these are the crops. The crops are known as these are common names, and these are the botanical name as per the as the botanical classifications. The names are given botanical name, and most of the crops, the botanical name remains same, does not change over the world. People know rice, Oryza sativa. The first one is the Oryza, is a genus, and sativa is a species. This is botanical classification or the scientific name of rice. So Oryza sativa is known throughout the world, and the rice, you sometimes say rice, sometimes you say paddy. The common name may change. There may be common name as per the location. Some location they might give the different name, but this name does not change. That scientific name or this botanical name that remains same throughout. That is Oryza sativa. Oryza first one is your genus, and second one is your species. And this is a cultivated crop rice. And also there are some weeds similar to rice. There also the name comes Oryza, but no, the species are different. No, those are the wheat crops. They are seen along with rice crop. But the rice, cultivated rice, the edible grains rice, that is the Oryza sativa. Similarly, other crops like wheat, the scientific name Triticum aestivum, maize, Gia maize, and sorghum bicolor, pulse millet, Penicetum glaucum, barley, Podium vulgar. So these are the way of writing the scientific name. We use write italic way, so that no common the genus and species they are also separated. Italic, or also you make a underscore when you write a scientific name. And among these cereals, there are some coarse grains and also some fine grains. So among the cereals, rice and wheat, they are the fine grains, and others are coarse grains. From maize, sorghum, pulse millet, these are coarse grains. Why do you say rice and wheat are fine grain? Not because of the appearance of fine of rice and wheat as compared to other crops. Fine grain because of they are the management practices and into the care do we make during growing of the crop. Rice and wheat, they require utmost care for better growth and development as compared to other cereal crops. Rice and wheat, they require the sufficient amount of water and nutrients as well for proper growth and development. Whereas the other crops like maize, sorghum, pulse millet or the millets, they are very hardy crops. They can be grown under rain-fed conditions. Even in the absence of very low rainfall regions, we can grow maize, sorghum, pulse millet, small millets or the barley crops. They are grown with less water or the rain-fed conditions. Whereas rice and wheat, we need a assured irrigation sources. Without irrigation, proper irrigation sources, or there is no if the sufficient amount of rain for the rice we grow in the monsoon season, we grow rice in those buckets where we expect there is sufficient amount of rainfall. Then you can go for rice crop. And wheat usually grown in the winter season is a non-monsoon crop. It's not a monsoon crop. It's a winter crops, and wheat is grown only if there is a assured irrigation facility. So these places where there is a potential irrigation available, so that we can go for the wheat crops. So that's why based on the management, these two crops, rice and wheat, are known as the fine grains, others are known as the coarse grains. So the management practices you can see are the cereal crops. They are the exhaustive crops. They require heavy dose of nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potash. These three major nutrients are essential for proper growth and development. Usually they require more of nitrogen and then less of phosphorus and potassium for proper growth and development of this crop. So these are the cereal crops. Next comes here as a legumes or the pulses, and most of the pulse crops are leguminous crops. And why they are known as leguminous crops? Because they fix their own atmospheric nitrogen. The crops they have the root nodulations, the symbiotic bacteria say rhizobium bacteria in the root nodulations. So they have the capability of fixing the nitrogens, atmospheric nitrogens through the symbiotic nitrogen fixation through the bacterial association. So that's why legume crops are most of the pulse crops or the dal crops, they are the leguminous and they require less of nitrogen because of these regions. No, most of the dal crops require less nitrogen, but they're very rich in protein. We use the pulse crops because they provide the protein requirement, the protein we get from the pulse crops. So in our daily diet, there is a combination of the cereals and the pulses. Cereals provides the carbohydrate and starch, and the pulses provide the protein requirement of the body. So these are the protein crops. The common crops are no. I hope you know these crops: chickpea or the Bengal gram. You say that's chana. That's no common name. It's not chana. This is a botanical name or it's a scientific name, Cicer aratinum. Similarly, pigeon pea or red gram, this common name or the, that may changes as a sometimes a tur some places, tur or arha. That's a Cajanus cajan is the botanical name.